what are a couple things I can do to minimize falloffs, counteroffers, and turndowns from my clients? And that comes from Jessica in Flagstaff. So for me, what I try to do to make everything simple and repeatable. So again, whether you're a solo operator, I still want simple, repeatable processes. I don't ever want to rely on my memory. It starts in the very first phone call. If you're sending out people on interviews that are just open to a better opportunity or want to make more money, and you haven't dug deeper, that is a huge red flag for me of a candidate that is not going to be reliable at the end of the process. Now, candidates start there. So one, are you digging deep on the very first call? Peter Lefkowitz kind of question. I know there's no such thing as a perfect company or a perfect opportunity. If you had to describe some of the minor imperfections in your current role or current company, what would those be? And I don't want to talk about what makes them unhappy. That's too big of a jump. They might be happy, but there is no such, what I love about the language, there is no such thing as a perfect company or a perfect opportunity. If you had to describe some of the imperfections, what would those be? And then as a good recruiter, you just extrapolate that question, you go deeper. How say more? How does that impact you? And you'll, with somebody who's genuinely dissatisfied enough to consider a change, you'll hear them amplify those imperfections over the course of 5 and even 10 minutes. And then I would have them contrast that with looking forward. If you could hand carve the next step in your opportunity, what would that be, Mr. Ms. Candidate? And I want to have them get as specific as possible. I don't want, if they start with like, I'd have more freedom time-wise, fantastic. For you to find more freedom, what does that look like on a daily and weekly basis? I want to be able to have stuff that I can measure as I take them through the interview process. Are these things that the candidate, I can help the candidate identify the opportunity? And then I always ask them, what are the things in your opportunity that you really enjoy doing now? So I have the past and the present in what's irritating, what they like, and I have future aspiration in if they could hand carve. We all know it's going to be rare that they are able to find the perfect opportunity, but we all know we need 60-70% of that for most people to make a change. So the whole process of minimizing turndowns or counters starts in the very first interview. With defining specifically what the pain points are. And this is what we agreed to in our group of, like I said, the 8 offices that are doing a couple million each with dozens of recruiters and all of them combined, is where we noticed it most likely probably fell apart was on those first couple phone calls where you define these things that I'm outlining. And then once you go through the process, it's always acting as a consultant and acting as a career advisor. Ms. Candidate, you said, these were the things that are irritating and these are the things we're aspiring to. And if they come out of the first interview, Mr. Ms. Candidate, tell me how you can perceive, I know it's only been one interview, how that opportunity would help fix these things and or get you closer to this aspirational thing. I'll restate the things that they told me were irritating, and I'll restate the things they were aspirational to get them talking about it. And then at the end of that first interview, what would you need to discover in the next meeting for this to be a heck yes or a heck no opportunity? And I want to listen to the tone as much as I want to listen to the words, where I think really strong big billers hear the true meaning of the tone, where mediocre or low billers hear the words and ignore the tone so that because they're trying to protect the deal. The best billers out there try to blow up deals. And if they can't blow them up, they know they're real. Because there's nothing wrong with somebody who's a little bit whiny coming out of that first interview, or especially coming out of the second interview with, you know what, you don't sound convinced this is a good move for you. Why don't we just pull out of the process? You know what I'm thinking? I'll just pull you out of the process. And does the candidate fight back? You got to do what you got to do. If you think that's a moment to resell them, you're fooling yourself. 99 times out of 100, is if they're saying that they were going to turn the job down, they would follow all the way through until the point of decision. But are you challenging them throughout the opportunity to fight for the thing they would want for themselves? And you're doing that. That's actually the greatest service you can probably give to another human being, is the ability to get clear on, is this right for them? Or is this not right for them? And then at the end of the process, we were always really clear. We didn't always make the offer, but we knew the number they would accept. And then we were coaching them through the whole thing of, it's totally okay to pull out of the process. It's totally okay to say, no, you don't want to go to the interview. It's totally okay to say, no, I don't want the offer. But we need a level of clarity at the end of this process, Mr. and Ms. Candidate, so that if the money's right, it's a yes. What in the whole time throughout the process, you're checking in with them. If the number's right, and we're going to define what the right number is with them, where it's a yes, not I'm going to think about it. And that's why you want to do this throughout, not only when you take that first data sheet, your first assessment of them, but at each point of the interview process, so that it's not this big yes or no decision at the point of the offer. Because I would say, like at the end of the first interview, hey, if you learn all in the next interview or in any other discovery you do with them, if they satisfy your requirements in these areas, if they answer these questions and the money comes in at blank, is this going to be a yes? I don't know yet. Okay, what else would you need to know? See, I'm asking those questions earlier, not at the end, because at the end, there's a lot of pressure on them. So you're making this, all these little yeses, all this little discovery throughout the process. So again, I train on this for hours. So I'm trying to give you the cliff notes of what I would cover throughout your process with the candidate to make sure the numbers are right. So thank you for that question, Jessica.